is an island about a third larger than Scotland or Ireland. Approximately 30% of the surface is lava fields. On average, a volcano erupts here every 5 years, but luckily not often in inhabited areas. Over 11% of the country is covered by glaciers. Vatnajökull Glacier is the largest ice cap in Europe. In fact, it's larger than all the glaciers in Europe combined. Vatnajökull is the perfect place to describe the contrast and the forces ruled by the nature. Volcanoes erupt underneath the ice of Vatnajökull frequently, pushing up new mountains and causing huge meltwater floods. Iceland is still taking shape and forming itself. The dramatic landscape changes every time a volcano erupts.
I've been to many countries, China, America, Europe and Iceland. And I've got to say that there's something really unique about this place. Only about 300,000 people live here, but somehow it feels huge. Everything here is done in a big way. And if I had to describe Icelanders in one sentence, it's that they're big thinkers. When you visit other countries, there's often a sort of a laid-back atmosphere, but here it's quite fast-paced. Everything's going on. Everything can happen in just 1 minute. It's a very dynamic place, probably the most dynamic I've ever been to. Icelanders originate from Vikings, sailors and farmers who had to deal with the weather, which changes quite rapidly here. There's actually an old saying in Iceland that if you don't like the weather here, just wait for 10 minutes.
Actually, there are about 1 million things to say about Iceland, and 900,000 of them would be about the weather. But one thing that has always fascinated me about the country is how strongly Icelandic people stick to their origin. For example, their belief in elves and the hidden people. There's a well-known story that happened only a few years ago. There were some road workers laying a road through one of the bigger towns in Iceland. When they got to this big rock in the road, all the machines stopped working and accidents started to happen. It was impossible for the workers to just move the rock and lay a straight road. The reason? Well, it was inhabited by elves. One night, after a couple of days of no success, the mayor of the town went out and had a little talk with the rock. The day after, everything went smoothly and the road workers were able to lay a nice little road bypassing the rock. Old folk tales and modern ones are full of stories such as this one. And it's through those stories that Icelandic people have learned to respect the nature. Besides lava, glaciers and volcanoes, Iceland has a lot to offer. Skógafoss is one of 10,000 waterfalls which greet Icelanders every day, all year round. The waterfalls come in all shapes and sizes and can be found in every corner of the country. During high summer season, it's hard to tell the difference between day and night because the midnight sun offers constant daylight. Another amazing thing in the sky are the northern lights, which during winter fill the clean air with mystical bright colours.
So what's so unique about Iceland is the closeness of everything. Even though you have this big island, you can pretty much travel to anywhere in Iceland, anywhere worth seeing from A to B in 4 or 5 hours. That's the longest drive you'll have. And for most of our adventures and most of the must-see things, the must-do things you have to do, you can travel to them within 1 or 2 hours from Reykjavik. So you can go rafting, or you can go caving, canoeing, snorkeling, or kayaking, or hiking, or just name it. In all the different activities and adventures, there's always a difficulty level. So you can choose your difficulty level after what you're looking for. If you are looking for a blood rush or a hardcore adrenaline sport, we can take you on a trip you won't forget. And we can also take you on a serene rafting trip or a serene kayak trip on Hvalfjörður close to Reykjavik. It just all depends on what you are up for, what you are looking for. But you can be sure that you'll find it in Iceland.
approximately 800 hot springs with the average temperature of 75 degrees Celsius. This one is obviously a little bit chillier, but is one of many outdoor jacuzzis made by nature. This region has the extraordinary blessing of a unique mix of waters, the boiling hot flows together with the icy water from the frozen surface. Some of the hot springs are spouting springs, the most famous one being Geysir in the south of Iceland, from which the international term geyser is derived. Natural hot water supplies most of the population with cheap, pollution-free heating, and rivers are harnessed to provide electricity.
I would recommend if you are traveling around Iceland, you should use the opportunity to get fish, because we have lots of fresh fish. And I think it will be a pity if somebody travels around Iceland and doesn't try the lamb and the smoked lamb. The smoked lamb is one of our best kept secrets. And in the old days it was served boiled, hot, or the day after cold. But now it's a trend to serve it raw, like a prosciutto in Italy or a jamon in Spain. Skyr is a dairy production that we make and have been making since always. And that is basically, it's a cheese. It's made like a cheese, but we serve it as a yogurt. And it's a dairy production that is absolutely fat-free. And I would recommend that this is something that everybody that comes to Iceland should try.
Iceland is one of the youngest countries in the world. It only began to rise from the North Atlantic seabed about 16 million years ago. Its first inhabitants came ashore somewhere around the year 850. It's said that he was on his way to the Faroe Islands but got lost and drifted onto the coast of Iceland. But Raven Floki, who later came here deliberately, he saw a bed of drift ice just outside the shores. He named the land Iceland because of his sighting. Ingólfur Arnarsson is the first settler. He settled here with his family around the year 874 in a place he named Reykjavik, or Bay of Smokes, due to the geothermal steam rising from the earth. Reykjavik later became the capital, and today Reykjavik and the surrounding area inhabits more than half of Iceland's population, which is 300,000.
Last summer there was a survey made in 14 cities in Scandinavia and in the Baltic countries. 5,000 tourists in these cities were asked about their experience of the city, and we just heard here in Reykjavik that Reykjavik scored the highest as a clean city. So we are the cleanest city in all of Scandinavia and the Baltic countries, and which is wonderful. Because this really is in harmony with the slogan and with the image that we've been working with for these past few years, telling our guests that Reykjavik is the city of pure energy. And by pure energy, we are referring to, of course, the pure energy that we use to heat up our houses, but also pure energy in our nature and in our culture and in our people, and in the same rhythm as the pure energy image that we are portraying to the world.
In the formations made by lava, it is possible to see all kinds of creatures and faces carved into rocks and mountains. It is explained in folk tales that those creatures used to be trolls that turned into stone. Well, that is of course what happens to trolls when they get caught by the sun. The belief in trolls isn't that great today, but Icelanders still believe in ghosts, although electricity has taken some of the fright out of the long winter nights. But the long winter nights used to be very long here in the highland interior, which is uninhabitable. The only people that had a reason to stay out here back in the old days were outlaws hiding, rustling sheep and keeping away from law-abiding citizens. those outlaws were commonly visited by various creatures. And even today it is said that supernatural beings can't wait for the tourist season to begin so they can rattle the bones of unsuspecting Highland travellers.
There's a really good reason for people from New York and London and Stockholm and all the big cities. They love Reykjavik. Here it only takes you like 10 minutes to walk from uptown to downtown. And in between you will see around 150 and 200 bars and clubs.
Is a young city, and Reykjavik is a small city compared to many others, but we are conveniently small and of course very safe. We can't maybe compare ourselves to London, Paris, Rome, but actually we do. We have great culture, we have wonderful museums, we have really an energetic music scene, we have the greatest restaurants. And maybe, which makes Reykjavik so special, is that it's so close to nature. I mean, we are like an oasis of a town in the middle of this great, unexpected nature.
The style that we have here in Iceland is sort of open, and people are not afraid of sort of putting it all up in a blender and just mix it. So that reflects in fashion and in music and in all kinds of design concepts.
Iceland has always been this very open country. We've been very open to ideas. We're getting ideas from Scandinavia, from all of Europe, but also from the United States, because we're so conveniently placed between these two worlds, if I may.
Obviously nature plays a big part in Iceland. I mean, it's here where the hot springs meet the cold winds, where the earth is on a constant move, volcanoes around every corner. Sometimes driving around Iceland feels like you're driving in 4 continents in one day. Such is the variety of the landscape. Even some places feels as if you're driving around on Mars. I think every man, woman and child should experience Iceland in one way or another. Just to experience the contrasts in the nature, feel the closeness of mountains and lakes, and of course have a little chat with the elves.